Welcome! This was the opening pre-assessment activity for mentors to complete as they were signing in and waiting for everyone to sign on. If you are viewing this meeting through the video makeup opportunity, please go to the Google survey and answer this question. The link is in the Google Classroom under the March Mentor Meeting assignment. This is the monthly mentor meeting for March 2021. As you know, ongoing mentors training and support is part of the induction standards on which our program was approved, so thank you for supporting the program and your mentor responsibilities by either attending the live meetings or viewing the recorded sessions and completing the surveys that are included. As we reflect on the norms we always have for our meetings, we are reminded of the 7 norms for collaborative work: pausing, paraphrasing, posing questions, putting ideas on the table, providing data, paying attention to self and others, and presuming positive intentions. The norms posted here, as well as the 7 norms for collaborative work, are good to remember in our meetings with each other, as well as when we are working with our induction candidates and colleagues. In preparing for these mentor meetings, I meet with the lead mentors and we discuss the current needs of our mentors and candidates, taking into consideration where we are in the program and what else is going on district-wide. I then try to connect these topics with the induction standards that we need to abide by as part of our CTC approval and which also guide our work with the induction candidates. This month's topics are tied to induction standards 4 and 3, out of order because I want to bring to your attention that the program is charged with providing support for mentoring challenges, which I think are happening all over the place as this district is reopening the school sites, and also for the mentors to engage with their mentoring peers in professional learning networks. And this is what we do when we purposely put you in groups to discuss your mentoring practice and/or other topics that are being discussed or focused on during the meeting. Induction Standard 3 reminds us that each candidate must be provided with support opportunities that include effective teaching practices for all students, so when we discuss a variety of instructional strategies during the meetings, it is for those of you who are already are familiar with the strategy to think about how you might present it to your candidate as another tool to learn how to use, and for those of you who are not familiar with it, to learn and then think about how you might apply it in your mentoring situation. So today's agenda reflects the Poll Everywhere activity, bringing flipped classrooms into the conversation, and the nuts and bolts covers the induction standards we are covering today with the topic of student engagement. How are you thinking we might be connecting the two topics? And in closing, we are going to be provided with a little information about the ongoing Go React assignments and dates for our next meetings. As you can see from the survey taken at the beginning of the secondary meeting, everybody had heard about the flipped classroom, but not everybody felt very knowledgeable with the topic. So that told me that the information I was going to deliver during the meeting was appropriate. Flipped classrooms have been a thing for about 10 years now, although until distance learning this past year, many people shied away from it for many reasons. But this research from 2016 shows that flipped classrooms can have positive effects on students with engagement and interaction, which contributes to extrinsic motivation and both lead to improved academic achievement. So that's really cool. However, there are some challenges which can come from lack of student motivation, made more difficult by poor video lectures, poor planning, and untrained teachers. So there are a couple of ways to look at it, but we want to focus on the positive effects and remember that moderation and varying instructional strategies also create engagement and motivation. Returning to the classroom. Many of us are returning to face-to-face instruction, while some people are continuing with distance learning for the rest of the school year. Either way, we need to support our induction candidates with classroom preparedness and how to manage student engagement in person. Remember, some of these teachers have never had their own classroom in real life. They've only taught virtually, so many are going to need support in many areas. This is a chart done by Ellen Moore, who founded the New Teacher Center, on the phases of first-year teachers' attitudes about teaching. Most new teachers, and even veteran teachers, start the new school year full of excitement and anticipation, but as the months go by and the honeymoon period is left behind, teachers kick into survival mode, and then right when they become very disillusioned, winter break comes, and then teachers spend time with loved ones and get some rest, and they become rejuvenated, especially because the students have matured a bit, classroom dynamics have gelled. In January and February, good solid times for instruction. Then as the year progresses, teachers begin to reflect on how the year went and how are starting to plan for the next year. Then the anticipation phase begins all over again. Generally, this is how it goes. This year, however, has been very different, and I'm not sure if these phases apply. When planning with the lead mentors, we agreed that it might be almost like the first days of school all over again for the teachers who are going back to in-person instruction. Even for veteran teachers, it won't be like the school that we left in many ways, with the different schedules and cohorts and COVID safety procedures in place. So we might see some of the beginning of the year stress and anxiety occurring all over again. So we want to be thinking about what new teachers might need as they return to in-person teaching. Using your survey, and let us know what you think teachers will need as they transition to in-person instruction. During the meetings, the mentors used a Jamboard to brainstorm what the new teachers might need now, just like we do when we think about the beginning of the school year. Please take a minute to read their responses on the next 2 slides and think about where these needs are in relation to the CSTPs and the continuum of teacher development, and think about where the ideas you shared in your survey might fall. Here's one with the CSTPs and what the teachers thought who attended the meeting in person. And this is another look at it a different way if we're looking at the continuum of teacher development, looking at the different developmental stages, starting with emerging, exploring, applying, integrating, and then innovating. But most of them fell into the more beginning stages, these skills that the new teachers are going to need as they return to the classrooms. So we're going to switch gears a little bit to why is student engagement so important. This leads us to CSTP 1 and student engagement. This theme is peppered throughout all the CSTPs, but is especially heavy in CSTP 1. Student engagement has been shown to be an important contributor to student success, and research has demonstrated that engaging students in the learning process increases their attention and focus, motivates them to practice higher level critical thinking skills, and promotes meaningful learning experiences. Student engagement is important because it needs to be there for students to learn what it is you want them to learn. And there are different ways to encourage students and provide environments and situations which contribute to student engagement. Behavioral, emotional, and cognitive engagement are 3 pieces that work together for maximum student engagement. Younger students may work better with behavioral and emotional engagements, and the cognitive piece appeals to younger students' natural curiosity. But while it is still important for older students to have an emotional and behavioral connection, content and cognitive engagement might play a more important role developmentally for older students. So how do we engage students in blended learning and provide equitable opportunities for students to engage with the content as well as with their peers and their teachers? What are some efficient ways of delivering content in an engaging manner when we are working with different cohorts of students and maintaining COVID protocols? Using flipped classroom strategies is one way we might want to think about providing engaging opportunities for content acquisition. Here are a variety of short videos and articles that might provide some information on how to integrate flipped classroom and universal design models into your lessons or your candidates' lessons. Please choose at least one of these resources and view or read it, and then respond to the 3rd question on the survey you began at the beginning of this presentation. The links for all of these are in your Google Classroom. After you finish reading or viewing, please respond to the 3rd question on the survey you began at the beginning of this presentation, and all the links are in your Google Classroom. Thinking about a flipped classroom model and universal design for learning, we see how they overlap and that they very much dovetail with each other. This diagram shows in the upper right-hand corner that you start with a hook or experiential engagement for understanding and remembering, and then you go on to concept exploration by providing multiple means of representation, and here you might go from the concrete to the representational to the abstract. If you think about Bloom's taxonomy, you are providing basic concepts and knowledge in a variety of ways or through a recorded teacher video, and then you go to the next quadrant where you are synthesizing and analyzing what you've learned in a variety of different ways, and then you go to the evaluating and creating quadrant with demonstrating and applying. So you can see how universal design and the flipped classroom model work very well together. If you think back, though, to the beginning of this meeting and we talked about the research behind flipped classrooms, we said that flipping your classroom can be very effective. However, there are some cons of which to be aware. Using a flipped classroom exclusively can create or exacerbate a digital divide. It also relies on a lot of teacher preparation and trust. You need to understand that your students will be responsible for their own learning to a certain degree, so therefore it requires a significant amount of work at the front end, teaching students how to do this and what your expectations are. There also needs to be contingency plans for students who do not do the work out of class. One of the other things people worry about is student time in front of the video screen instead of actually doing things, and that might be increased. However, you can utilize the in-class time for being productive and student-centered. To help you as you talk to your candidate about these concepts, we've developed new lesson plan tools for you to use as springboards and our prompts when talking to your candidate. There's a flipped lesson plan tool that provides space and thinking prompts for these different portions of a lesson. There's also a new universal design for learning lesson plan tool that has the sections broken down to help you and your candidate organize their instructional lesson. Both of these tools are in the Mentor Tools section of the Google Classroom, as well as in the March Mentor Meeting section of Google Classroom. I hope this information was helpful for you and gives you something to share with your candidates as we progress into the last inquiry cycle. As a reminder, your Go React Mentoring Reflective Conversation video is due sometime before the end of the year. This helps me see how you and your candidates working together and allows me to give you feedback on the mentoring language that you use as part of your conversations with your candidates. Next month's mentor meetings are listed, and please note that the elementary mentor meetings will go back to the old time of 3:45, mostly because some of the elementary schools have late dismissals. If this is a problem for you, please feel free to attend the secondary meeting at 3 o'clock. We only have 2 more months of meetings for this school year. Can you believe it? I can't. It's very getting close to the end. Thank you for watching. Please submit your survey and let me know that you've completed this activity.